in your voice.
Okay, it's recording and I'm broadcasting now.
Looking forward to it, guys. Thank you. Great team.
Thank you. Good morning, Falcon parents. Hope you guys are all doing well this morning. I'm going to allow for a few more people to enter the meeting. In just a few minutes, we will get started with our presentation. Give it just another minute or so. Allow for parents to enter our webinar. Thanks for joining us again. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Give you a little introduction. My name is Zephyr. I'm the executive director of the Torrey Pines High School Foundation, and really happy to be bringing you some parent education webinars here during COVID. Our goal is to keep you connected to Torrey Pines and to help you with some things that you and your students may be experiencing right now with distance learning. And just a quick note about the Torrey Pines High School Foundation and what we do. We were created in 1993 by a passionate group of parents that saw during the budget crisis that they needed, that the school needed things to fundraise for, such as athletics and academic needs. So extracurricular, anything extracurricular was taken out of the budget from the district. So the foundation was created back then to help with the booster clubs, such as speech and debate, academic team, girls and boys basketball, dance, cheer, golf, football, you name it. So we came on board to raise money and have parents come on board to help with that, so we can create a better educational experience, an experience for students, and maintain our distinguished high school status from the early 90s. So number one, we fund your student experience through academic enrichment by providing tools to the classrooms. We also fund your student social emotional connection, which we will be talking about today. And we fund experiences such as challenge days. We help fund PALS, which is our peer assistant listener program, which Jeff Owen, our guest speaker, will be speaking of in a little bit. And we also help fund grad night, so that end of senior year experience. I wanted to introduce Shelly Stevenson. Shelly is a foundation board member and a past president. She's here with us today. She's had 3 kids go through Torrey Pines and is a current senior right now. Shelly, wave to everyone if you can. Thanks, Shelly. She spent the last 4 years leading challenge days and volunteering and sitting on Torrey Pines social and emotional committees to understand the huge need for this type of education. So not only academic, but the social emotional connection that goes along with your teenage years. So she is going to be facilitating and monitoring and helping to answer the questions that come through. Thank you for being here, Shelly. As far as what to expect for the next 50 minutes or so, we will have both Jeffrey Owen and Don Collins, teachers at Torrey Pines, speak on what Torrey Pines does for social and emotional learning for your students here on campus, and then also provide you with some resources to help your student through the tough times they may be facing during COVID. So after the presentation, we'll have a question and answer time for about 10 minutes. So type your questions in during the presentation, and out of respect for everyone's time, we are going to go until about 10:30, so just an hour. So I'd like to introduce to you our guest speakers today, Jeffrey Owen and Donald Collins. Jeff has been teaching locally for 16 years. Jeff graduated at UCSD in 2003 and has been in San Diego ever since. He taught at Cathedral Catholic for 11 years, saw the light and decided to come over to Torrey Pines 4 years ago. Very happy to have him. He's been an AP Econ teacher running the PALS program for 3 years. So thanks, Jeff, for being here. And Don Collins has worked in the San Diego Union High School District for 25 years, including doing his part-time student teaching at San Diego High School before it became San Diego Academy. Mr. Collins started as a math and bilingual math teacher at Earl Warren Middle School, transferred to Sunset High School, teaching multiple levels of math, English 11, computer applications, and running support groups for a dozen years before arriving at Torrey Pines in 2010. He has led new teacher BTSA training seminars in the district for 2 decades, as well as becoming the first Sanford Inspire National University teacher trainer in the country through a pilot program established in partnership with the district several years ago. Mr. Collins currently teaches business math and academic survival and serves as the Torrey Pines High School Social Emotional Intervention Coordinator. We call it SELIC, SELIC. And TPHS is Black Student Union Club Advisor. So we're so very happy to have them both here. Thank you so much. I'm going to give the podium to Jeff now, and Don will come after. We really hope you enjoy this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that introduction. I really appreciate it. Those of you out there, my name is Jeff Owen. I think my introduction kind of goes already taken care of. I'm really lucky to have this opportunity to talk to you. I've been teaching here for 4 years after leaving Cathedral. At Cathedral, I taught a variety of different subjects, AP World, AP Euro, almost everything within the social science department. But I was always a coach. And when I got to Torrey Pines, I missed that connection that I had with my students. And teaching AP Econ to seniors, I didn't really get that connection that I wanted where I could meet students and kind of help them throughout their high school career. I would get them as a senior and then pass them on to college, their life goal, right? So 6 months of knowing a student didn't have that connection to me. So when I got the opportunity to take over PALS, I threw myself right at it. It was a great opportunity to meet kids, freshman, sophomore year, and progress with them throughout their high school career. And in some cases, I get to teach the same student for 3 years in a row. So for me, this is exactly what I wanted to do. PALS is a little bit different at each campus. And so what I thought would be probably the best way to approach my portion of the information today is to explain what PALS are, what we've done in the past, how it works out today, as well as how we're implementing it. Because we've heard a lot about our SEL Wednesdays, which is an amazing program that we've begun this year. And I want to kind of give you a first-person look of what that's like in the student's perspective. So I should be sharing out my screen. Am I okay with everybody sharing out the screen? Okay. So let's get over here. So what we've done in the past, what makes PALS unique?
Jeffrey?
Yeah.
We can't see your screen quite
Yeah,
yet.
give me the screen. Bummer. I was wondering why that went that way. My bad. Thanks for the heads up. Can we see
There we
it?
go. Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Thank you. So now that we have the visual on board, what we've done in the past, what we're doing today, and how we implement it through the eyes of your student. So what have we done in the past? One of the keystone events that's handled by PALS is Challenge Day. This is an event that's fully funded by the foundation. It's a 4-day event where we host over 500 students. They come in and it's a full day event, all housed within our gym, brought by the Challenge Day Foundation. We've had a 10-year commitment with them. And I feel like this is one of the events that we really have fostered and made home on our campus. We also do events on campus where we try and share out some of the messages of Challenge Day. So this would be an event that we hold called Appreciation Week, where we help students. sorry, that's the beginning of class, where we help students integrate with one another and show appreciation to each other. We handle most of the large events and national weeks like Red Ribbon Week and Yellow Ribbon Week. And traditionally what we do is provide information throughout the week through art installations or posters, highlighting a key feature. 2 years ago, we focused on vaping and put information around campus. We decorate the campus, that way we see a visual representation of Red Ribbon and kind of raise our awareness of what the event is and hope that that kind of generates more focus towards our art installations. And then we wrap it up with an assembly. And so we usually have an all-school assembly where we have all of our students come into the gym and we have a keynote speaker. Also, Foundation has been more than generous to have some of these speakers come in at night to run parent night and answer questions. Other events that we do are Stress Less Week, where we try and help students during finals and midterms with information on how to effectively study, as well as ways to check out and turn it off. And these are some images of Yellow Ribbon Week. Same thing, these are for our art installations. And we finish it up with a Yellow Ribbon assembly. And I think a key component is staying connected with our neighbors. We've worked really hard the last couple of years to build a relationship with Canyon Crest Academy. These are the Torrey Pines Pals and the Canyon Crest Academy Pals on a retreat over the summer to help hone our skills, to kind of come up with our vision and really bring us together. This was another event that was fully funded by the Pals, by the foundation. And it was a really good chance for us to share ideas, because keeping us self-contained, you really don't get that same experience as sharing with others. And we go back and forth where we'll send our pals to their events, like their community day. They send their pals to our challenge day. They also have assisted us with ideas, and we've worked back and forth. So that's who we are. The big point of me showing you of what we are before COVID is to kind of get an understanding of what we do. Because as I said, each campus is going to run things slightly differently. So what are we doing today? Well, we're distance learning, right? So we as PALs had to identify, okay, how are we going to keep things the same and what's going to be new? So what's staying the same? Well, one of the key events that is very important for us is making sure that new students feel welcome on campus. During in-class learning, we call it even eats. And on every even day, we would meet in our classroom, room 57, and we would provide some type of activity or game for students to come meet each other and interact, especially students that are transfer students from out of town or coming from a new school. That obviously cannot happen now. So what we're running is what's called Welcome Wednesday. So same concept, but we're hosting it through Google Meets. We're also still running our typical national holidays like Red Ribbon Week. Red Ribbon Week we just participated in last week. And also very important, we're trying to stay connected with our neighbors. We're still in contact with the PALs at CCA, and we just finished a collaborative activity with CCA ASB. As I said, 2 different campuses, 2 different PALs. At Canyon Crest Academy, their ASB runs the Red Ribbon Week, so we stayed connected with them there. So what is new? Well, what's new is the student connectivity time. This is built into our schedule. It's built in every Wednesday, and we're rotating through a schedule where the PALs will handle one Wednesday, ASB will handle the next Wednesday, and the admin team handles the next Wednesday, and then we rotate through. PALs handle the SC connection, ASB does activities and games, and admin is giving us updates on campus, collecting information for us to work with, and sharing community information. Sorry about that. My phone is going a little silly. So how we implement it. What does this look like? So on Wednesdays, what we came up with was low risk, big reward. We got to imagine that these students are coming into a digital environment for the first time and thinking, do I really want to reach out there and share? We want to engage the students and we want them to feel that they can respond. But at the same note, broadcasting your face to the internet is a pretty bold thing to do. So our goal is to find a way to reach out to students and provide them low risk responses until we can build that foundation where they can feel comfortable to continue to share out in a larger fashion. So we're attempting to engage our students through visuals, games, low risk communication, and PALS perspective videos. So our first activity we had was happy, healthy routines for online learning. And you can imagine coming in after a summer and thinking, oh boy, here we go. I need to readjust. How do I integrate back into the school system? Well, the PALS thought that would be the first topic that we should jump at. And so we have 30 minutes on Wednesday to engage this topic with our students. So how did we do it? Oh, and by the way, this my entire slides deck will be available to you guys, including all of the activities in here. So you can at any point just click on it and see our entire presentation. I'm just going to show you some screenshots of what we have. So obviously we're going to start off with some type of game or an icebreaker. We used Kahoot, and it was a bunch of questions about what you did that morning and how you prepared for the class, just to kind of get the kids in the mode of, okay, we're talking about routines. After that, we wanted to kind of pique some interest for the students, and we created what are called PALS perspective videos. And the PALS have really stepped up and made videos to kind of illustrate what they do to ease or to begin facilitating that conversation. So here's a snippet of a video, and I'm going to skip ahead. We probably don't need to see our introductions of our president and everybody. So I'm going to skip a little bit ahead to give an example of what they did.
Hi, I'm Owen. I'm the president of PALS. This will be my third year at PALS, and I became a part of PALS because we're online learning.
I understand the audio is a little low, but there won't be much talking. So as you can see, we highlighted some of the things that the PALS found were effective to them. Is this a complete fail-safe list of things to do to be successful? No, it's to engage the conversation, at least to get conversation going. Now, again, low risk, big reward. Our goal was to slowly warm up into this concept. So to begin, instead of having kids share out, we gave the double thumbs up. So we took some of the elements within that video, and we had teachers say, okay, how many of us got out of bed today? Which, believe it or not, is a staggeringly low number sometimes online learning. So did you get out of bed? Double thumbs up. Did you have a healthy breakfast? Double thumbs up. Did you maintain a calendar? So we worked our way through some communication. How can a student share out and feel like they're part of this community without doing a high risk activity saying, yes, I did have a healthy breakfast this morning and I made my bed. So we thought this was important to warm them up. And then again, we step it up a little bit. And we didn't think that on our first occasion or our first event, we wanted to have direct talking. It's just, it's difficult. So we thought we'd continue the next step up, which would be to respond in our chat bar. And so we continued our discussion with what habit would you support? What habit would you do to support your physical health? And if a student felt confident, they could respond verbally, or they could just put it in the chat. And so we thought this was a good way to kind of engage in our healthy habits. Another activity we've done that we found was trying to reduce anxiety. And we wanted to show the Falcons how to make vision boards. We found that vision boards really led to positivity, and they were an effective tool that we've done in class in person with magazines. So we thought, hey, maybe we can share this out to the student body. Now that becomes a challenge, because how do you make a vision board within 15 to 25 minutes? So the PALs really stepped up to create their own version of a template. And what they did was they actually located images on the internet relating to topics that they would find interesting as soon as this PowerPoint opens. There we go. And they provided kind of a pre-packaged vision board template. So if, for example, you wanted to find some images on the beach, it would load. There it goes. You would select the beach. These were made by PALs. Did you have to use them for your vision board? Not necessarily, but it'd give you an idea like, oh, I like 15th Street. I like Powerhouse Park. Is that Dog Beach? That's fantastic. And so it was more about giving kids ideas of what to focus on, or things that they could look up if they found interest in it. And then we provided a PALS perspective video that allowed the students to, or show the students how to make a vision board.
Torrey Pines.
I'm going to give you guys a
Francesco.
brief snippet of this one as well. And then we'll show you some of the submissions that were returned to us.
Hunt, just like the vision boards will help you envision your future. A vision board is simply a collage of pictures that represents what you want your future to look like. If you get stuck, things to include are a college or a school that you want to go to, a place you want to visit or live, your dream occupation, things you desire or want, goals you have, or anything that makes you happy. Did you know that you can manifest your own destiny? Vision.
So we explained what the vision board was and the effectiveness of a vision board, and then we have to hear a whole monologue of me on how to create one. I think we can probably bypass a little bit of that and return back to our presentation over here. What I was really ecstatic about was the response that we got from the actual community. The vision board was a pretty big hit with our students, and we asked that they share them back to the PALs, and we received hundreds, actually. 564, I believe. So here are some examples. I'm going to drop this back. These came from our students. And then the final thing that I wanted to talk to you about or share that the PALs have been up to is Red Ribbon Week. This year for Red Ribbon Week, we had to adjust it. How are we going to make Red Ribbon Week a virtual event? We were really fortunate that we had the DEA of San Diego share us a lot of resources on how to do this online. And the PALs went through the resources provided by the DEA and came up with a pretty comprehensive plan of how we're going to conduct this throughout the week and then in a 30-minute SC time. Our goal was to learn, play, pledge, and give back. So how did we learn? And again, you guys will have a copy of my entire Red Ribbon Week presentation. How did we learn? We presented digital posters. I showed you in the beginning of our presentation a collection of the art installations that we'd made throughout campus. Now we had to do it into a digital form. So the teachers were able to share out our presentations, and then we played the Kahoot games that were made by the DEA office. And then that slide I just kind of skipped a little bit was keeping with our theme. We really wanted to stay consistent and share with our neighbors down the street at Canyon Crest Academy. So we did this in collaboration with CCA's ASB. I'll hold you guys off on this video for today. If you'd like to see it, feel free to check out that slide deck. We also wanted to continue the idea of a pledge. A pledge is something that's always had a powerful impact on the campus. We did not have the means to necessarily do it by hand in a safe environment. So we allowed students to sign through what were called Jamboards. And we created a Jamboard for every single class at Torrey Pines High School where the students were able to sign it. We're compiling this as we speak right now with CCA. We're going to do a two-school pledge chart, which I think is pretty amazing that we're trying to get our students connected digitally. And finally, giving back. Right now this week, the PALs are doing their Red Ribbon Creative Contest, and we're asking for submissions from students, and they are receiving a gift card for first place and second place to Amazon, something that we can deliver to them without actually mailing or touching. So that was our plan, to learn, play, pledge, and then give back. And that was our Red Ribbon. Hopefully you guys have a better understanding of what PALs are up to on campus, as well as how we're facilitating our Student Connectivity Wednesdays. We continue to move forward. Our next topic is going to be healthy habits and healthy social interactions online. So thank you so much for your time today, and I really appreciate it. I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate you. Dawn, love to hear from you. Thank you.
Right on. Welcome. Thank you. I'm really glad to be here. And let me see. So I started doing my student teaching at San Diego Academy, but back when it was the high school, was hired and in 1996 to teach math and this is me as the math. Why is that? No. That's not what I want. Hold on here. Where did my present go? Here. Oh, come on.
We see it.
You do see the presentation?
I do. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So all right. So after 2 years at Earl Warren, I moved over to Sunset, and it was at Sunset that I started working with independent study. Once I came to Torrey Pines, I continued to teach business math. I ran the online independent study program here for 5 years, and then moved and ran the PALs for 5 years prior to Jeff. And Jeff is just doing an excellent job and has done a great job during this distance learning time, connecting with kids and contacting families and kids, because we have about 200 students each year that come from out of district, out of the state, out of the country, that are new to Torrey Pines, and with more than 30 languages, kids all over the world. It is obviously important for the schools to connect with the students, and Jeff's done a very good job of emailing and offering that lunch and trying to loop them in that way. My intention for this presentation is to do an overview of what the school's doing to connect with your kids and to support them with SEL. Last year, Mr. Copo asked me to become the Torrey Pines Intervention SEL Coordinator. We created a committee that met monthly. Shelley was part of that committee, an important part as the parent voice. And she and I worked together for 10 years now. It's been a decade, and it's amazing to watch your kids grow up. So social emotional learning is really about 5 main areas. There is self-awareness, which is really your intrapersonal relationship, your relationship skills, which is your interpersonal relationships with other people, your self-management, personal responsibility, time management, your social awareness, your impact, my behavior affects other people. And you notice that most 18-year-olds have much better social awareness than 13-year-olds because something happens between junior high and high school where kids mature. and then also their responsible decision-making, ethical decision-making, constructive choices. And all of those aspects are being challenged right now for all of us, not just our kids. Every one of us is affected. We're now 8 months into COVID, and the uncertainty, particularly for young people, is destabilizing. And it's young people, and I wrote a letter to my seniors in March about the reality that teenagers are about the future, going to college, jobs, I mean, our whole life is ahead of them. So I reminded them then, and I continue to remind my students now, this is happening now, but it's not forever. It is going to shift. And it's important that we continue to invest in what we can do to make the best out of the situation and stay safe and continue to learn both academics and about ourselves and about how we handle difficulty. So for as much as there have been many challenges with the, COVID and the pandemic, there has also been a lot of rising to the challenges. And what I'm seeing in my classes are a lot of students who are developing and talking about developing personal responsibility, time management, and for myself, I find that my grades are very much consistent with where they were last year. So I know that some kids are affected more deeply than others, but I would say that overall, the students have risen to this situation and are continuing to put in the effort that we see at Torrey Pines and I've seen here for a decade. So I saw this a couple days ago and thought it was funny. And it's really about trying to make the best out of a difficult situation. So this coffee shop got hammered on Yelp or TripAdvisor, and they turned it to their advantage. So the question is about our attitude and about how can we take a difficult situation like a bad review and make it something positive, with the understanding that we all go through things differently. And as Jeff mentioned in that first video, and I'm going to get into how the school's been using the SC time, there are things, there are habits, there are routines that we can get into. There are mental states that we can get into that support our mental health and our emotional health and our connection with other people. And some of them may seem very basic. The very first thing that I've talked with my students about and continue to talk with the staff about and trying to support is good sleep habits, because that's the foundation. Eating, nutrition, and sleep, which is very foundational and seems very obvious, but there are a lot of students who, because there's less structure, are not structuring it themselves. And so any additional structure that can be encouraged, whether that's keeping the phones out of the bedrooms or having an alarm clock to not use the phone, those small decisions, those small changes can result in an additional 45 minutes of sleep that most people lose going through Twitter or social media in the last part of the night before they go to bed. So I want to go through some of the different departments and what they're doing. Counseling has, the counselors are back on campus and have been for more than a month. They have virtual office hours where students who are at home can connect with them. They're obviously having many SST. I was in an SST meeting this morning at 8 o'clock. They are connecting with students individually. If you have an issue or concern for your student, the first place to go is to email your student's counselor and put them on notice so that there can be a connection that gets started. Obviously connecting with the teachers as well, but the counselors, particularly if it's like a kid that's not sleeping well or making it to school or getting online, this would be a first place to go. The counselors are also doing online webinars with parents, Q&A questions, and also we'll be moving into college. College apps are right heavy now for seniors. And I've had some discussions with my seniors about the pressures that they inevitably always put on themselves, which of course gets exacerbated during this time where there's less kids are feeling more insecure and less grounded, about being gentle with themselves and realistic and doing what they can do and not really going into the future about what school they're going to get into, or to do their best on the apps and to not overwhelm themselves. And I've seen some students really shift about realize that they're not doing themselves a favor by overstressing themselves out. Obviously, college apps for seniors, October and November is a very, very stressful time. So on the counseling webpage, there is an entire page devoted to SEL. So if you're looking for tips, if you're looking for ideas after this webinar, if you're thinking, gosh, I want to go into a deep dive about what I could do, and you don't hear it here, or I'm not able to answer that question that you have, I would encourage you to go to this SEL website. You also remember that there is Care Solace as an online resource to assist individuals to find local mental health related programs that's offered for free through the district. So if you're looking for outside support, I would encourage you to go onto the counseling website and click Care Solace to get additional support, even if there's no health insurance. This is something that the district has offered since March. Our school psychologists, Julie Johnson and Deborah Lawler, are doing groups, both individual and a small group. They do them for 30 minutes. They run the groups all day long. They've been doing this for the since the end of September. So this has been going on for quite some time. I'm not sure if you've heard the notification, but there was a recent announcement that athletics can come back on campus after school. If there's a sport you're interested in, if your student has been looking for sports, I would encourage you to visit the Torrey Pines athletics page, because there are obviously Torrey Pines is a sports superpower. We've been the #1 sports program in the state of California for the past 2 years, for good reason. And this is one way that kids connect at Torrey Pines. It's a big way. So I encourage you to check that out. Jeff's already talked about the Wednesday Pals lunches. Again, if you're interested, his website is right here. You could also go to the Torrey Pines main website and click on Pals, and you'll find that resource. ASB. So part of the issue is that the students have been uncertain, but obviously the school situation has also been a bit uncertain and changing, and that environment has made it difficult to get things off the ground, and it's just been taking more time. Normally, in the past previous 10 years that I've been here, we've had our student club. They call them club days, but it's a chance for the students to go out on the quad where all the clubs have set up tables. That usually happens in early October, like the second week of October. Right now, it's going to be happening in the first week of November, because obviously it's taken more time to get everything up and running. But the club, the club director for ASB has met with all the club presidents. I've met with her myself as the advisor for the Black Student Union. And so student clubs they're encouraging clubs to meet outside on campus if they do, or to meet virtually, less stuff inside the classroom where the air is contained. But we still have more than 100 clubs even during COVID. Normally, Torrey Pines has roughly 150 clubs. So to have more than 100 clubs with all of those clubs have teacher advisors that are volunteering to support those clubs. And they are an array. There's the Barbecue Chill and Grill Club, which is amazing. They've entered contests. I mean, it sounds like they just cook meat, but there's a lot more to it. They've gotten $5,000 worth of different kinds of barbecue grills donated to them. They've got T-shirts. They've got a lot of gear. We have science and math, and obviously speech and debate is a big, well-supported club by the foundation. Polish with a Purpose, where a team of gals got together and they were going into senior centers. That club is on hold right now, but it's an example of the kind of innovation that kids think about here at Torrey Pines. We have the national programs like National Honor Society and Speech and Debate, but we also have Falcon Foreigners, which is a great club that started here 3 years ago. And these are for international students and for people that are interested in international travel or connecting with international students. So if you've come from another country, or if you're interested in travel and culture from other countries, I encourage you to join the Falcon Foreigners Club. But basically, if there's any kind of interest that a student has, chess, science, math, art, dramatics, writing, Journeys is an award-winning national science magazine. I mean, it's here. So, and if it's not here, you can start it. We have the Christian Athlete Club, we have the Jewish Club, we have the Muslim Women's Club. There are just amazing opportunities for people to connect around areas of interest. And those are all up and running. And we're looking for the virtual club rush happening next week, or, they will be happening soon. This just came out 2 days ago. So I want to get into the SC time. Jeff did touch on that. And it's at a half an hour. This SC time was established in the Bell schedule. It was created 2 years ago, approved, and was planned to be rolled out prior to us even knowing about COVID. So it's been a wonderful way for students to have a half an hour each week that is class time, that is considered attendance time, but that we are able to use that time really well for students to connect around different ideas and concepts. And I'm going to go through some of that. One of the first things we did, the very first day, we had a Kahoot about Torrey Pines trivia that was really fun, that all the classes played. ASB did a whole presentation about the clubs that we have. Obviously, Jeff Owen was talking about the healthy routines. The one part that I think has been really cool and has been very well received by students, I've asked them and they're being quite honest about this, is how Mr. Copo has established, there have been multiple periods where he's done live streams where students are able to ask him questions. He's gone to great length to connect and communicate in a two-way system with the students so that he's presenting information and answering questions, and they are able to give him feedback. And also, initially, we did a very informal distance learning questionnaire. It's since that Mr. Copo did the takeaways. That questionnaire that they started with turned into co-vitality, which we're going to come up with in a minute. But the PALS perspective vision board, the response from, the response, as Jeff said, hundreds, 565 out of 2,600. That is a huge amount of engagement, especially with a half an hour project. So students are engaged, they are interacting. There was a student Q&A with Mr. Copo. It was the first live interaction last month. On the 1st of October, he did this. And then on the 14th of October, just a couple weeks ago, students took a 15-question survey that has given the administration a lot of information about where students are at, what they're struggling with. And this information is really going to help drive our decision-making around support programs and implementation of SEL resources. ASB has got a Spirit Day Fridays, as we always have. Kids are engaged, wearing their college shirts, the camo, the tie-dye. What we're trying to do, and I think what's happening in large degree, is maintain those routines that we had prior to COVID in order to establish a foundation of normal and not lose the traditions and the routines that support students all the time. In the classroom, teachers, and these are just a few of the examples that I got from teachers. Alexa Scheidler is a math teacher. Every Friday, she does a high-low bet you didn't know, where she asks students to independently and privately submit their highs, their lows, and the bet you didn't know. Any teacher that does this on a regular basis knows kids start communicating and talking. In class, I've done this myself, where kids will stay after the bell's rung for lunch in order to finish what they're writing. And no different online, students are still using this as a way for her to connect with their students around issues that are personal to them, or maybe shared, whether it's an issue around Halloween or some news. High-low bet you didn't know is a great way. This was Mrs. Taylor. She said that a highlight for her was a pet show and tell. So she got a best in show for the dogs. Miss Laughlin, they did a great morning routine at the start of the year, trying to get kids to think about their routines, trying to get kids to consider establishing stronger routines for themselves. This all is part of SEL, and it's all part of the challenge that all of us face And with that challenge, it's like going to the gym. That's how you strengthen the muscles. So you may find that your students are being more responsible in a way that I've seen it, and I'm sure that you've seen it at home. Mrs. Huntsberger created a wonderful online questionnaire that she does every month. I've instituted myself. And one of the coolest things, I got a little response down at the bottom, a student named Theo. I won't get into his full name, but he said this class made my day. And getting those kinds of notes and messages are very cool. The questions are, how connected do you feel? How isolated do you feel? You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, how upset are you feeling? And it's also an opportunity for me to offer them additional resources and ask them some very basic questions about those resources to make sure that they've engaged and actually looked at it. I include information about crisis lines and support lines because obviously this online check-in is not the same. And I do read them. I do talk to the students about them, as does Mrs. Huntsberg and the other teachers that use this format, but it's obviously not a substitute for something more. At the very bottom, this email says from a student that came in, also, I want to say thank you for the other day for talking. Thank you for the talk the other day. It put a lot of stuff in perspective. I still have insomnia, but I feel like I'm more stable and I'm moving in the right direction. Happy Monday. Have a good night. And he wrote that email to me at 2 in the morning. So change takes time. And what I think is important for you to understand is that as a teacher, after it's a time I spend with my own kids, I enjoy the time I spend with your kids. They are being resilient, they are being flexible, and this is an uncertain and difficult time. My hope to give you some additional information about what to do when the future feels hopeless is, one, as that coffee ad used at the very start of the presentation, how do we turn our constraints into decisions, and how do we turn these difficulties into strengths? You know, how do we take the challenge and flip it around and see where it can be a benefit? We also have to start knocking down some of the pessimism and future disputing about, you know, dealing with what's in front of us, because the uncertainty about what's going to happen, there's a lot of it. And the question is, how can we deal with what's happening right now? Tony Robbins talked about the 6 human needs, and they work on an axis. But the 6 human needs that we all have are certainty, variety, growth, significance, connection, and contribution. Certainty, variety, growth, significance, connection, and contribution. And the teen brain is, there's only 2 times in life that a kid's brain, that a person's brain grows. The first is from 0 to 5 with motor skills, language acquisition, all of the things that happen with from infancy to being through toddler age. And then the only other time that that people's brains actually grow in size is this teenage year, where kids are developing interpersonal skills, personal responsibility, self-management, where is my place in the world. And I do believe that school and the rigorous programs that we are doing at Torrey Pines are still offering kids the opportunity to invest in themselves, although it's often in a virtual situation. These needs operate on an axis. You know, we need certainty, but we also need variety. And right now we're overloaded on uncertainty, or we're overloaded on variety and uncertainty. So the question is, how can, as at home, in school, how can we increase the certainty, which in my experience is increased with routine and habit. And the best routine and habit I could offer a kid who's struggling with their grades is to set aside a time from 3 to 4 o'clock after school where they get a short break at 2:40 to 3, and then sit down for an hour and finish whatever work still needs to be done, so that they can enjoy their evening, enjoy the video game or the sport or whatever they are going to go do, the family time, but know that they've dialed in and finished what needed to be done that day before they leave the desk for the day. There is 10 minutes left for questions. The best advice I ever got was don't give anybody advice. But if I was going to give somebody advice, the second best advice I could give is listen, 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 listen. Listen to your kids to the extent that you can have conversations with them, to the extent that they can be open-ended and not high pressure. And I say that where I'm picking up my 2-year-olds from a small little 10-person daycare, and I start peppering them with questions the second I'm buckling them in the seat. So I know that it's hard to sit back, ask a question, and let it be. But I encourage you to create the conditions where your kids can share about what's going on for them, and that you too can share with them about what's going on for you. Because to the extent that you'll be honest and open and authentic about what's happening and what struggles you may be going through, gives them the permission to lower their waterline and share with you about what they're going through. I'm happy to answer questions, and I hope that this has been helpful for you to understand what's happening at Torrey Pines with your students and the school, and all of the different ways that we're still offering to connect in a virtual environment.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate you both being here today. There was a fantastic turnout of parents of Torrey Pines High School students. As a Torrey Pines parent, one already graduated from college, one's in college, and one's a senior. Senior year, parents, we have such expectations because we reflect on our own high school experiences. But even more so, I think about our freshmen, parents and their excitement for their students to be at Torrey Pines. And yet we're in this position that we're in. None of us had any control over it. One of the questions that we had from more than one parent of a freshman was, how can they support their student in looking at all the clubs that we have? Clearly, there's something for everyone at Torrey Pines. I know as a parent, I model, I do it, we do it, you do it. But as a freshman, they're just getting their feet wet. So how can parents help their freshmen get connected with these clubs if the students are just not quite confident enough at this point, but they're interested? They just need that guidance, that support, that direction. What are the steps that you both could recommend to parents to get those 14, 15-year-olds to start connecting?
I'll go first. First of all, on the chart, when you go to the ASB website and you click on the clubs, there is an Excel spreadsheet that's a list, all the club names, what they do, who the club president is, and the email, and also it lists the advisor in that email. And I think the best thing to do is to sit down with your student and say, what are 5 that you'd like to do or 5 that you'd like to investigate, with the understanding there's no pressure that you have to do it for the rest of your life. But what holds your interest? Is it science? Is it auto? What is the interest? And then once you get them to send emails to CC, to include yourself, your student, the president, and the advisor, and just to have the introduction, maybe write a short 5-sentence or 3-sentence, my name, where I came from, I'm a 9th grader, I like to do this or that, I cook on my own. And then you could even use that same email and maybe change the first sentence, but just copy and paste that 5 times. And, just like a sales call, send them out there and see what happens. What you're going to find is that the clubs are excited to have the students. As the advisor for the Black Student Union, we meet every Thursday at lunch, and the club is growing and the kids are excited, and we're talking about what we can do. We know there are things we can't do. We get that. But what can we do? Because we still can do lots of stuff. And one of the things we can do is reflect each other and listen to each other and connect with each other. And that half hour, I know I leave from it feeling better and more excited about my future, my kids' future. And, I think the kids feel that way. There's a lot of joking, there's a lot of laughing. And I know I don't joke and laugh the same when I'm by myself as when I'm with my friends. So taking that risk is always a risk. It's always difficult, especially at 14 or 15. The fear of rejection is very real. And at the same time, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So send out the email, CC yourself so you can see the responses, and or have that discussion with your student. Does that make them feel awkward and uncomfortable? Then don't put your name on there, but sit down and see that they get sent out. Because once that connection gets established, there will be a response, and you will get, that will start the process.
Great advice. Next question's for Jeff. We have a family that has two new students to not only California, but Torrey Pines High School. So that's a lot of newness, right? And they weren't able to connect with that new student Wednesday get together. So when are the next, or when is the next one, and where can parents go to find out about future Wednesday connectedness events?
Okay. Well, they're always going to be on Wednesdays. We're going to be hosting them. There'll always be a minimum of 5 pals in the room. Typically what we do is we play, either we have a conversation or we play a game. Right now, the common game that they like to play is called Among Us. It's a cooperative activity. That way, you're not only just in a high risk environment answering questions and talking, you're playing a game and discussing what's going on. Let me see if I can post the link. Let's see. Can I share that out to, I don't actually know.
Can you read it out, and perhaps I'll just...
It's on Google Meet. It's a long...
Okay. Well, what we could do is we'll post it. You share it with Zephyr, and we'll put it on the Torrey Pines High School Foundation along with this whole presentation. So if there's someone that didn't get to see this presentation, parents, maybe your spouse or a friend, by all means, just tell them to go to the Torrey Pines High School webpage, and then up on the top, click on Foundation, and there'll be a link to this full presentation that you can review over and over or share with other people. And we'll include the link to the Wednesday get-togethers for new students.
It's also on the PALS website. Go
Perfect.
to PALS, and then, sorry, I should have just answered that to begin with. PALS, Welcome Wednesday, and the link is right there.
Terrific. Those of you who are parents that are familiar with Challenge Days, obviously we had to cancel Challenge Days, for the first time, and we usually hold it in the fall, which is a fantastic event for freshmen in particular. And I would love to see, we're aiming to host it in the spring. So parents of freshmen, be sure to keep your eyes peeled. We'll do a lot of promotions through the foundation because we do support this and fund this event. And I would encourage you to sign your students up, particularly your freshman students, in that particular event, so that we can get them connecting as quick as possible when we are finally back on campus together.
Let me just interrupt Shelley for 1 second.
Yes.
To say that she has been a phenomenal support for a decade. We've worked together with Falcon Fest and Challenge Day, and not only drumming up the funds to support it, because we do have to bring a whole team here, but also in the effort to get the volunteers. And it is a transformative day for students. Transformative, like literally things shift inside and never return to the way they were. And it's for the better. Not for every kid, but a little bit for every kid. And for some kids, major shifts. So I really encourage you to have your ninth graders come. And for those of you that have upperclassmen that have come, we always have 50 student leaders that are actually free, that we get to additionally put on top, that are also integral to the program, because they model, they support, they assist, and they're always do great jobs leading off and with sharing. So all that said, Challenge Day is a huge thing here. We've been doing it for 20 years, and Shelley's been a foundational element to it for the last 10. So props for her, for the whole campus.
Thanks, Don. I'm glad you brought up that the benefit to the students. There's also an enormous benefit to the parents, and we depend on having, in order to host this, we need 20 volunteers each day. So as a parent who's volunteered, and there are so many out there, they will tell you that giving up one day to volunteer at Challenge Days will fill your cup for the year. It's a wonderful experience, and donating your day to that event is priceless. So we'll keep you posted on that. Also wanted to mention that I was questions about assemblies. Are there opportunities to do any of these, red ribbon week or yellow ribbon week, to do them like live presentations that the kids aren't seeing since they're not on campus? Is there any kind of integration like that that's being planned?
There is a Red Ribbon virtual assembly that was hosted by the DEA that I can provide out for us. We did not look into it just due to class time, since we are on a shortened bell schedule right now to limit screen time for our students. We didn't want to cut into content to have the assembly, and to parcel that up into 3 Wednesdays would have been a bit challenging. But that would be our goal, is to have that available. That way kids could consume that content outside class time.
Terrific. One of the comments that we had today was that, and it's probably not the only parent that is feeling this way, but this parent was brave enough to type the question, that their son is just completely stressed out about school tests being online. Feeling on your own to do college applications. This must be, as a senior. So you've addressed quite a few kind of some tips. If you need more one-on-one, what are your suggestions for these seniors?
Start with the counselors. The first place to go is the counselor. If that is for the college apps, or just for feeling overstressed. The other thing to do, I think, for the student is sometimes I still do it to myself today. I will feel so overwhelmed with my to-do list that I do nothing. And that was the conversation I had with a student last week. And this guy's, he's running competitively in cross country. He's, doing that outside in the league. His plate is so full, and he's comparing himself to his sister. There's just a lot of stuff going on in his head, so much so that he can't even get off the ground, to take care of simple things. So I think, and again, having someone to talk with often can give a kid perspective. We had a conversation after class because I wanted to address what was going on in my class. He ended up setting up a schedule for himself, getting all his back work done that Saturday, emailing me, not only that I did it, but thank you. I've got a new perspective. For some kids, it's even just one conversation to give them, an outsider's view that is a caring, supportive, but objective, that isn't lost in the forest. And other times it's a much deeper thing about a belief or an attitude that's going to take more time. So in that, as a parent, you would really have to ask yourself, is this a short-term kind of quick acute situation, or is it a chronic, long time, months of time, which might need that solace program through the district that's at the website, or some other intervention? But the counselors are the best way in the first place. And then, with testing, it would be good to talk with the teacher.
Terrific. I really want to thank Dawn and Jeff for your contributions and your presentations. They were fantastic. Lots of great ideas. I loved the thumbs up, in terms of checking with your kids, or the thumbs down, the listening, the vision boards. They're clearly, you are working very, very hard on behalf of our students, and I'm super grateful. Thank you, Zephyr, for orchestrating it, and Angie for the behind the scenes coordinating. I want to remind everyone that the foundation is nonprofit. Check out the website. We're just donate what you can. We are 100% committed to using our funds that we raise for our students and all of our students. And we want to continue to bring the great programs that the foundation offers consistently. I want to mention that there'll be a survey going out from the foundation asking parents to send us more information about questions and concerns, and we'll be having a series of class coffees. So stay tuned for that, coming soon from the foundation. And any last final words, Zephyr?
I just love doing these webinars. I think it's really informative to see what Torrey Pines is doing, and for us to all get together. I know virtually is a little bit harder, but hopefully we can get this going in the future where we can actually see each other again and have our coffees and enjoy life again, hopefully in the spring. So Thank you to everyone. Thanks, Dawn. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Shelley, for being here. And can't wait to see what the next one's going to be like.
Terrific. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.